So whenever you game your LeMay, yes, whenever you game your LeMay, well, I will teach you the right way to kick bottom when you play. It's time for Mix and Mic-tics. So today on Mix and Mic-tics, we are talking about this game.
The greatest
of the Final Fantasy series.
Is this one of the ones that came out in the States, or is this the one that didn't come out in the States?
I'm glad you asked that, because I'm using the Pixel Remaster version for a couple reasons. One is I don't have the Super NES version ready to where it needs to be. Second off, this was one of the ones that came out in the States. This one came out as Final Fantasy II originally on Super NES. So it would have been really weird me putting Final Fantasy II up here and saying Final Fantasy IV.
Yeah, that's one of the most confusing things. And I mean, I guess at the time it kind of made sense because it took forever to get Final Fantasy I out here and to do 2 and 3 like rapid fire on the NES. I mean, it did it with Dragon Warrior, but then again,
plus they were, compared to Final Fantasy I, they were excruciatingly difficult. Especially 3. I think 3 is ranked the hardest of the Final Fantasy games.
It's also one of the hardest ones to find a port of. Like this Pixel Remasters is the first time that 3 and 4 have been like ported to a home console in like forever. Because I think 3 and 4 got released on like one of the Nintendo systems or maybe one of the Sony portables.
So when you're talking 4 was 2 in the U.S. So that got
released. I'm talking about recently too.
Okay.
Like so because 3 like has been like the one that's been really hard to find ports of. 4, unless you go to the Super Nintendo, like you're like looking for. There wasn't a lot of re-releases of it.
Yeah, first time 3 was released in the U.S. was on DS.
That's
so it was a very different graphical style and gameplay style. And then the Pixel Remaster, I think, is the only other version, and the only 2D version of it, really.
I gotta play Dragon Warrior 3 still. They have they did a re-release of it, and from what I'm seeing, the re-release isn't really what I'm looking for. So I might have to go and just play like I have another re-release. A re-release of a re-release is the one that's out now, and I have the regular re-release, which is it's the Sony PlayStation version, or like version of it or something. They remastered a little bit. It looks like it's actually 16-bit, but it looks like an 8-bit 16 to 16-bit convert. They Super Mario All-Starred it.
I think that was like DS maybe.
That might have been it.
But
I was actually watching a thing on YouTube yesterday about how important Super Mario All-Stars is, and if you think about it, all the remakes that they made of NES games all kind of took from what they did for Mario All-Stars. It really was like, is Nintendo kind of just sitting like, okay, this is how you do a remaster. Especially a remaster of a game that literally came out the previous generation.
Okay. I got to stop you here because probably all the Final Fantasy IV people are going, I'm sick of looking at this loading screen. Let's get to the Mix and Mic-tics.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going on. And I'm also watching video footage of the last game we talked about.
So let's talk about Final Fantasy IV. And what we're going to discuss here is we're going to talk about a mid-level grinding location and some steps that will make everything a lot easier. Now, I'm also going to talk about a boss fight that I haven't got to, but I did find a YouTube video posted by somebody. So credit to that person for posting it that does the whole battle incorrectly. And I'm going to tell you how to do it correctly. So there are going to be spoilers in this. The spoilers are going to be, they're going to be about mid-level spoilers. So just be warned, you're going to see things if you haven't gotten to this point that you may not be excited to see, including...
Oh, dude, this game is so old. If you haven't seen some of this stuff yet, I mean, come on. Any video that you go online and look this stuff up, it's going to tell you a lot more than what Mike's going to tell you. So don't worry about it.
So there is a point where you're going to get to this area that I'm loading up now, which is going to be the underground area. And this is the location that makes a very good grinding point. I'm going to show you where to actually do it. It's actually going to be right here is where we're going to start. Now, you have to be careful in this area if you're playing a version other than the US Super NES version, or I believe the easy type version from Japan, because there are monsters that do at this point have counterattacks.
Mike, can you just assume that somebody's not watching this and explain where you are?
I am close to the Dwarf Castle in the underground area. I am to the right of it where you come out the exit when you go through the underground tunnels under the Dwarf Castle.
Okay. That also helps me because I've never played this game. So I'm like,
Okay.
I see just a bunch of fire and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know.
And there's a little peninsula that I guess you could say looks like a penis on the island. That's the best I can describe it, was where I'm going to head. And I'm going to go head down there now.
Okay.
And what we're looking for, we're not looking for these guys. So I'm just going to go ahead and kill these guys really quick. The enemies we're really looking for, now these guys will give you good experience. Don't get me wrong there. They do have counterattacks, though, especially one of them will stone your character over time. So you got to be very careful with them. Make sure that your attacks are hitting for sniper kills.
I think it looks more like an arrow.
Okay, that works for her. This is what we're looking for. We are looking for these guys right here. They're called, in the Super NES version, the Dark Imps. In this version, they're the Goblin Captains. The reason why is because they're very weak enemies compared to what you're going to encounter here, but they actually give very good experience. And you can actually get into battles where there's 4 of them. So let's just say I had 2 of them. We have 3,800 experience for that battle. We'll see if we can get to another battle with maybe none of them. We'll see what the experience looks like then. But I just kind of walk on this little area. Okay, so here we're back to this one fight that we had. So let's kind of see. We got 4 enemies here. Let's get an idea of how much experience we get for these guys that are a lot more dangerous with their counterattacks. So there we go, 4,330 experience. So it's pretty much the same for killing 2 goblins and one of those guys versus killing 4 enemies that are more dangerous. And you really score when you get 4 of them. Here I got 3 of them. And so we'll just take this out. We'll just see how much we get really quick. And then I'm going to show you another reason why you want to grind at this location rather than somewhere kind of far off.
Now, in all these
6,000 here.
In these mix of Mic-tics for the Final Fantasy series, you've covered a lot of good grinding places, and every single time they always are right next to a town.
Yeah, this is even better because, like I said, this is right next to this back door entrance to the castle. But watch this. If you walk in this hallway and walk up to this pot, boom, free magic and hit points right back.
Nice. You don't even have to spend any money on a hotel.
Don't have to spend any money. Walk right back out and go down to the Penis Arrow Peninsula and go right back to grinding.
Venus Arrow Peninsula. I think I vacationed there once.
You know, if you've been to Thailand, you know all about the Penis Arrow Peninsula. So you're gonna there's 2 times you're gonna encounter grinding here. The first time you're actually gonna have to walk to the tower afterwards. That's where some events will happen. You'll exit out of this area and you'll come back later into it. And at that point, then you can cross the lava because you can't originally do it before. This is where the game is going to push you into going to a dungeon that's down here in the south, about the south middle. When you get to the steps that now that you can cross the lava to do that, you don't want to do that. You don't want to go there just yet. And the reason why is because there's very difficult monsters in here. They're called doors. And what the doors will do is they will target one character on their turn, and then the following turn, they'll instantly kill them. So you're going to want to have a party that's strong enough to take those doors out prior to that second attack happening so that all your characters are getting full experience for it. So instead of going down to that dungeon and continuing with a story, there's a couple optional dungeons. One is going to be to the west of this, which is the Summoner's Cave, which is right here on this little island. This is going to be your second location, or the first of the 2 locations you want to go to. You have to be careful because there are these spots where you can see I'm taking damage when I walk. So the best thing to do on each level is make sure you've grinded enough so that your magic user, your white magic user, has a spell Float. And each level you want to cast Float on your characters. All of a sudden, No damage for going across those spaces. Be careful though, because each level you go to, when you go to the next floor, whether you're going up or down, you're going to lose float. So you're going to have to recast on your characters. And basically, you're going to go through this dungeon, and you're just basically looting it, getting whatever experience you can out of it. The second dungeon, what's that? I'm sorry.
Float. We all float down here.
Now you can get some summons at the bottom of this dungeon. You may want to do that after doing quite a bit of grinding, but there's some good summons. The other dungeon is more in the northwest area, and that'll be way up here, where you just at the very top of the map. This is going to be the same thing where you're going to have squares that will hurt you. This time they look like poison, so you want to float here. The monsters are pretty difficult in this area, so this is one where you kind of want to go down one path, exit out, heal yourself, go down the other pathway because there's multiple stairs up and down, and just take it, chip at it, time and time again until you loot this whole cave. At the bottom of this cave, you'll find one of your old party members. You could actually get the strongest throwing weapon here. That I'm going to leave because I didn't figure that out on my own. That I'm going to leave to you to look up to get the steps to do that. Sorry. So that is the main grinding location that you want to do underground mid-game. And at that point, then you're just going to be blasting through everything. So that's the first thing I want to talk about with this game. The next thing I want to talk about is one of the boss battles. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this screen for a second. And I'm going to bring up that YouTube video. And I'm going to start sharing that screen. So you're going to find this battle probably after you've done that cave that I was talking about not going to. You're going to go into a giant, and what you're doing, you're basically taking out its core. So when you get into this fight, there's going to be 3 targets to it. There's going to be an attacker, a defender, and the core itself. And I'm going to pause it once this battle comes up so you can kind of see what they look like. So you're going to see that there's these two small round balls and then a big one. The 2 small ones, the top one is the attacker, the bottom one is the defender. If you watch this battle, you'll see that they do exactly what they're talking about. The attacker will attack you. The defender will constantly heal the big ball for 3,000 hit points per turn that it has. The attacker on its turn is basically going to attack all of your characters and hit them for, it's not going to be like super hard, but it's enough that it'll stack over time. However, and this battle will show this happen, once you take out the attacker and you take out the defender, then all that's left is the CPU. Until then, the CPU doesn't do anything at all, really. It casts Reflect, and that's about it. Once it's taken out, like you're about to see, it has a new attack. It's called Globe 99 or Globe 199, depending on whatever version you're playing. The other thing it can do is it can respawn the attacker and the defender. This is Globe 199. This is what it does. This is why you do not want to do this in this battle. So a lot of people suggest taking out the defender, then attacking the CPU, eating what the attacker throws out at you, and then just healing when you need to. That's not good enough for Mix and Mic-tics. Mix and Mic-tics needs to do it a completely different way. So what I recommend doing, because you're grinding, what I recommend doing, get your character strong enough to where they're doing over 3,000 damage per turn, so that instead target the attacker, take out the attacker. Once the attacker is gone, attack the CPU and accept that the defender is just going to keep healing the CPU. The reason why is because as long as that defender's there, the globe will not, or the CPU will not cast that move that instantly kills somebody. The attacker won't be there, so you're not going to take any damage. The only thing you have to deal with is the fact that the CPU is getting healed. Once the CPU is dead, the defender's there doing basically nothing. I think it heals itself, but you can take out the defender pretty quick. So basically what you're seeing is a way to not do this because you're just making it harder. Just go for that attacker and then go for the CPU. And that's all I got for Final Fantasy IV. That's all you need, because everything else, after doing all that grinding, you're pretty much going to walk through until you get to some harder things, which are kind of like optional things. But what Final Fantasy game doesn't have anything that's optional that's made to be super difficult?